part of the design problems that we're facing that we're inviting others to help us with is this idea of how electricity works as a kind of reasoning that, I mean, the way the apparatus theory works is that suggests that person's living language and memory is augmented by the technologies. So oral civilizations augmented language and memory and thought by means of ritual and repetition and other kinds of methods. Literate civilization, again, had the forms of argument and topic and concept and method to organize memory. And now we're saying, well, in electricity, these things change again. We organize memory in another way. And as I was saying, that what's interesting about electricity is at least the promise of it, the potential of it, is that it'll be easy and fun. I mean, now this sounds like utopia or sounds like somebody's selling something, but actually the reason why school is so hard, literate school is so very hard, as everyone agrees, it's not like that. It's not like it could be easier. It's just the nature of literacy with its analytical abstractions is just real difficult to do. It's very, very hard to do. And just like orality had its own difficulties, not everybody was a shaman in an oral culture. It's very hard to be a shaman. It's very hard to learn to fly and to visit the land of the dead and all of that. So how how does this work? And what's this meaning to say it's going to be fun and easy? Well, we can already get a hint of that from the avant-garde, because one of the things we're saying about electricity is that it's not being invented out of some whole cloth, some sort of fantasy, but rather electricity is already underway. It's already being invented. The technology started to develop in the 19th century. Entertainment is a new kind of institution that is to electricity what school is to literacy. So it's within entertainment that electricity is emerging. Now, entertainment happens to be structured by commodity capitalism. This has a lot of negative implications, a lot of problems with behavior and morals and values, which has earned the reputation of the spectacle, as we call it, which is basically the decline and fall of civilization as we know it. But there's also a very positive side, and grammatology and electricity looks at the entertainment dimension of the institution in which electricity is forming to discover how to extract the powers of reason that can lead, as literacy did, to people solving problems in their own best interests rather than being destroyed by the spectacle. But the implication of entertainment is that this is going to be fun. Whatever learning and problem solving and so on takes place in electricity, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to have that dimension. And so we want to see what that means. And before we go into that, we could also say from the point of view of the avant-garde, meanwhile, it isn't only entertainment that has been participating in the invention of electricity, but so have artists and philosophers been participating in their own way, bootstrapping the features of electricity. And within the avant-garde, particularly, what the vanguard invented was a technique of making images, which is in fact easy. The whole, the jokes about the vanguard, from the point of view of the Philistine or the average middle-class person, is they'll look at something made by a young Picasso or a collage or something, and they say, well, my 4-year-old could do that. There's no skill, there's no craft. What's going on? And of course, from the point of view of the vanguard, that's a compliment to say a 4-year-old could do it, because that's precisely the non-Western, let's say the non-scientific, positivistic, finished kind of conceptual thinking that the vanguard artist is seeking, an alternative aesthetic. So what art showed is that craft is not art. I mean, craft is not what art is about. There may be craft, and there may be highly polished and skilled professionals making art, but art isn't what art is in its essence. and that art, over through the history of literacy, has been confined into its professional niche in a fragmented analytical world. But in electricity takes a holistic point of view on things, and art has to be brought back out of its professional niche and made a general practice. So in the same way that, say, exercise is not just for professional athletes, art is not just for professional artists, it's for everybody. And in fact, we could say the first thing that we could do to make the school system electrate is to put art back, at the center of education. And by art, we don't mean people learning craft, but we mean this idea of working with aesthetic practices, especially the kind of aesthetic practices that have been invented by the avant-garde, collage, chance techniques, and these kinds of things, which are very easy to do, actually quite easy to do. Anybody can do them, that's the whole point. We learned from Duchamp, who's maybe the most important 20th century artist. Why? Not because he created the most beautiful objects, but because he showed us most profoundly what art is. And that meant you could go into a department store and find an object and put it into a different context and associate it with a different network of meanings, and you had art, if you like, or that is to say, you had an aesthetic structure that you had manipulated only to the extent that you'd chosen it and positioned it in a certain way. So this is a very profound lesson for electricity, and it also suggests what we're coming up against in terms of a capitalist system, because right now the way we teach imaging in our classrooms is that we take images off the internet. I mean, the internet is a huge collage machine. Anybody who's taught in a networked writing environment, as I do, knows that not only can you cut and paste text, of course you can cut and paste images as well. And the internet, Alta Vista image searches,